What is up, guys? It is the Citrus Panda here today, and today I'm coming at you with a review for episode 18 of Season 2 of Haikyuu. Let's do this. Alright, so I actually did not make this video yesterday. I tried to come out with them on Saturdays, but kind of just like completely forgot about it, so I'm doing it this morning before I go to work, hence the attire. So in this episode, it was pretty interesting, because I actually started out with a match of Obajosai and Date Tech, which were two teams that are basically going to be Karasuno's next opponent. So originally, I was like, oh, well, this is going to be an episode focused around them. This is going to be really cool. Although it kind of like leaves me in suspense about what Karasuno's doing. But then it switched back to Karasuno, and it ended up that the episode basically focused around them. But at the very end, after Karasuno wins their game against Wakunon, then it kind of shows Obajosai and Date Tech in their second set. Now, what I found interesting here is that they didn't really explain who won the first set, because they just didn't. I assume that Obajosai won the first one, but I'm just making guesses, to be honest. I don't know. I honestly think that Obajosai is going to win that, because I think it's a spoiler, but if I were to make my best guess, in the opening, they're actually, Karasuno is like, playing against Obajosai, so it wouldn't make sense that they actually did. I don't know. It's weird. Maybe the opening is like misleading me purposefully, but it depends. At the end of the day, this episode was mostly focused around more of Ennoshita's development as a character, one that's not super important, but something that is going to be important, I assume, later in the future of the team. And also how basically they don't have just one leader. Like, Daichi made their defense, Karasuno's defense, very strong, but their defense in the second and third sets against Wakunon were very weak. Like, it was a very weak defense, but as it went on, it seemed like they got more comfortable together and they were able to play better. Ennoshita is kind of weird in the sense that he's actually a pretty good captain. Like, the one time whenever Hinata went for a spike and basically messed it up, and didn't actually connect, and he kind of was like, remember, jump, he kind of started like a saying about jumping, and then he also finished it, to basically just like reinforce, like, that's how you should jump. Like, even in a situation where it's pretty stressful, that's how you should always jump, to have a good foundation for like hitting the ball or whatever. So I thought that was very, very interesting that he is able to kind of step up and take that kind of position, because he did it pretty quickly as well. I mean, this was literally like at a moment's notice that he did this. And in the game, there weren't like a ton of standout players on Karasuno, and I think that's pretty normal. Like, whenever you play against Karasuno, you've got Kageyama, who sets up a bunch of stuff, and I would say he's one of their best players. Like, setting up plays wise, like that, in that kind of regard. Hinata made some really good plays as well, but it seems like Karasuno operates functionally as a unit rather than like one big player that does a lot for them. For instance, on Wakunon, you had Takeru, Takeru, who was kind of like almost like competing with Hinata for the title of the Little Giant, which is weird because it's funny that a lot of the people that are like shorter look up to that player in particular, just because of how good he was, I guess, compared to other people, and his height didn't really matter. So that was pretty interesting. Takeru was actually a very, very good player, and one-on-one Hinata actually technically lost, I guess, but as a unit in general, like the entire team, they won, so it doesn't really matter. It doesn't really matter if you can beat somebody one-on-one. I guess it matters if the whole entire unit can win. So at the end of the day, that didn't matter. However, Hinata did, he faltered a couple times this game. I think the entirety of Karasuno did, because they lacked an actual leader. Usually Daichi leads them in a way, but the one time that Ennoshita actually took initiative and actually did something was he actually gave them a plan to do, which I think was actually a really good idea by him, because I feel like if you're trying to lead a group and you make a plan and it actually works out, then it works out pretty well for everybody, because it usually makes the leader probably more confident in their decisions, and it also makes the people following the leader more confident about their leader making those decisions. So I think that kind of got more people backing him up. Like, everybody was already backing him up, but almost the psychological aspect of, okay, what he's doing is actually working now. Ennoshita goes on to make a couple different plays that actually won the game, especially the last receive. He missed a lot as well, but I think that will come in time. it was explained pretty well by Tanaka. He's like, oh, you've got 100 years, but he's like, oh, that's pretty mean. So he said like you have like about a year, to be as good as Daichi-san was. And I don't know if he ever will be as good as he was, but Ennoshita definitely he's a second year. Daichi's a third year. That's like a whole year of experience there. And I think he'll be able to step up whenever the time comes. So it should be interesting if the show is actually really long and it goes on from the time when like Daichi like quits the team, like whenever he graduates. Then that would be interesting because I think Ennoshita would make a pretty good captain, especially with more experience under his belt. Yamaguchi we see for a little bit this episode. At the very end, we see him talk about how he has to go to I don't know, he's running off somewhere. He says he has to go to the bathroom, but I don't think that's what he's doing actually. I think he's just going somewhere. He doesn't seem that sad. He just seems like he had an epiphany and he just kind of like ran off. So I don't know, maybe he is sad, but he seemed pretty determined to go to the bathroom. I don't know what he's doing, but anyway, so he's doing his thing. That'd be interesting to see what he does. I don't know what he's planning on doing. I don't know if he's gonna go talk to somebody, but I don't know who he would talk to. I guess the one guy from the neighborhood association, can't think of his name right now, but the guy who trains him might be talking to him about making his game better or something. At the end of the day, Karasuno won this game, and it was mostly a team effort, and people just were and them working together against a team that was honestly possibly better than them. Like I would say that Karasuno's offense is probably just as good as Wakanon's, but Wakanon's defense was better at the time, even though Karasuno's was originally better in the first set. Which led to Karasuno losing the second one, but then ultimately pulling ahead and winning the third one. What was also kind of interesting to see is that whenever it was pretty down to the wire, and also he had to hit a serve, and I think it would have won the game. I think he actually missed it and went out. But then the same thing happened for walking on. Like he could have made the points, and instead he like threw it and missed. Like he didn't make the serve at all, which was. It was interesting because it shows how a lot of players act under pressure, especially like a lot of pressure. Like the entire game, you're technically under pressure, but whenever you actually have one of the winning shots going, you're like, oh well, this could be the game right here. Then that probably is some sort of stress on the player. But the takeaway from this episode is that Karasuno has Daichi-san back because he's okay. Nothing crazy happened. Nothing that's gonna like really detrimental to the team. Really, I think they wanted to create drama because that's the idea of a TV show, I guess. You have to like make some sort of conflict happen. So that was one, and the adaptability of Karasuno showing that they don't just have one card to play. Maybe they do have a captain that can rally them in the future years to come. And I'm really excited next episode. I hope that the entire next episode is dedicated to Aoba Josai versus Datek. I hope they don't do like some like skippy skip thing where you just like run past it and don't even like mention it at all. I hope that they have a more in-depth, at least like showing some of the game, because I think that would be really awesome. And then continuing on from there, I'm not really sure what will happen, but I will say I like this episode quite a bit. I like the characters that are featured in it. I think Ennoshita could be a good character later on in the series. He seems to have some personal issues going on, especially at the end of this episode. But I think he'll work all those kinks out, and eventually it'll be okay. And I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. I hope you guys enjoyed this review. And until next time, see you guys later.